Today we're going to be having a little look through how I make these little tiny house brooches. So stick around if you're interested in finding out how it's done. Hello and welcome back to a kooky corner of YouTube. I am here to show you a little thing that I've been doing recently, using up some tiny scraps of wool felt, little bits of velvet that I have hanging around on my desk. You know I love to use up scraps. I can't throw them away. If they're shiny or pretty, they stay, you know. But they can only sit in a bowl for so long, and then they have to have some kind of a purpose. Well, for me they do. I mean, they're very pretty just to look at, all the different mixtures of little scraps and things. But I like to have something that I can focus them into. They've got to have a purpose in life, you know what I mean? So I'll be making these little houses. This was the first one that I made. It's a little house brooch. It's on a wool backing. It's got a pin back on it as well. It's pinned onto this card now at the moment because I thought it set it off quite nicely. And it's just made from little scraps that I've got left over on my desk, basically. So then I went to town and made a whole set of them. So we've got different houses for different things. This is quite a dark house. It's all kind of purple and moody. But yeah, I thought you might like to see how I put them together. So let's put those over just to one side for a moment. Leave them over there. And I'll show you the things that I'm going to need. So I've got a tray of stuff here, and let me go through it. So first thing you're going to need are some little scraps of fabric. I've got mine already. So you just want to cut out a basic house. Remember the houses you used to draw when you were a kid? You can have a chimney if you want. I don't have a chimney on mine. I have a heart, but if you want to do it how you want to do it, how you think a house should look, or how you thought a house should look. I love tapping back into my inner child. The inner child had no fears about what it made or created, it just made. And that's what I like to tap back into sometimes. And especially for things like this, with tiny little scraps, just to create something that wasn't there before out of something with potential. Anyway, enough waffling. So I've got my scraps and I've cut them all out to size. I can give you a vague size of what these are, but you can do your brooches in any size you want. This is a free reign, basically. But just to let you know that these are about 2.5 inches by 2 inches. Or yeah, 1.25 inches. That's for the base fabric, and then you cut your other fabrics to fit on from all the scraps you have. Now, with all the scraps I've got, I could build a whole town. But I'm taking it a house at a time, so I'm trying to cut it down to that. So you've got your scraps. We'll put those over to one side. The next thing you're going to need is some sewing threads. So I picked out a few sewing threads here. You can pick out whichever ones you have to match your fabrics. I've just gone with these because they were handy and close by and kind of vaguely matched my fabric. So that's what they are. You'll need a needle. You won't need all of these. I've got some pins and needles in here. A couple of pins might be useful if you want to pin something down while you sew it. So that might be an idea. But just a general needle that will fit your thread. So I'll put that on one side because I might need some of the pins from there. I've got scissors. You're going to need, well, it doesn't really matter, they don't have to be these, but I've got this pair of scissors that I use for cutting out my fabrics, the smaller bits, should I say. And then I've got a pair of embroidery scissors. I've got a very nice pair of embroidery scissors somewhere. Can I find them? No, but these ones will do. That will do. I sometimes use that to put my pieces in place, just a small amount of that. They're felt and foam tacky glue, which is really good for like it says felt and foam, but it's great for wool as well, which is basically what I'm using here. And also just a general Pritt stick will work as well. So either of those, you don't need both of them, either of those will work perfectly. Another glue that I've got in here, keep it in here, it's my travelling glue, is the gem tack. You can see it's very well used. This bottle I keep refilling. I've got a bigger bottle of it. You can get a bigger bottle of gem tack, and I just refill this one because it's nice for travelling purposes, so it stays in there. And then if you want to, if you notice around the edge of here, I've got some beads. So I've done a blanket stitch with a bead. So that's basically all you need to know. We've got beads too, if you want them. You don't have to, but we've got them if you want them. Right, and I'm going to need those for a moment. So let's pop that over to one side for a second. Helps if I don't balance everything on a pile of things, she said. Put the scissors back. Organise yourself, lady. Right, so I've got my needle, I've got my threads, and I've got my pieces of felt. So I've got my house there. I'm just going to put those pieces to one side for a minute. And I'll go through what I've got. So I've got 2 pieces of wool felt. This is a woven wool felt. So it will kind of fray, but I'm not too worried about that because I don't worry about things like that. I've also got a piece of this craft felt, which is kind of stiff stuff. Now I put that in between these 2 layers because these 2 layers are going to go together to form the base, and that just gives it a bit of stiffness behind the piece. You will need something else as well, which is a brooch back. I have got one of those. It's just over on the other table, so I'm not going to worry about that for the minute. Because you could also make this into something that hangs from a keychain as well. You know, you can make it like a charm of some kind. The choice is yours. Anyway, so first things first. Can't really see which is the front and back of these, so I'm presuming that they are interchangeable. And I am going to get my Pritt stick, and on this craft felt, I'm just going to put a bit on it. I want to put a fair bit on it because this is going to stay in place. So I want that. Which one am I going to use as my front? I quite like that one. So I'm going to stick this to that there. So you can see I've cut it just to be probably a scant half a centimetre or a quarter of an inch smaller than my outside piece of fabric. I'll take you in a bit, like so. So I've just stuck that on there, and that will do, and I'll just put that off to one side while we sort out everything else. So the first thing I'm going to put on is my little square of fabric that I'm going to use for the house itself. So there it is. Now if I want to, I could just put a little bit of this just to hold it in place, or you can use a pin. It really is completely up to you. I'm just going to put that down there like so. And on top of that, ooh, look, I stuck a little heart. That was done with the felt and foam tacky glue. I just stuck a little felt heart to the roof. If you want to do something similar, do something similar. And so I'm going to put a bit of glue. This particular piece is some, sorry, I've got a frog in my throat, handmade felt. So I'm going to just put that there. I don't know whether it'll stick or not. Might need a little bit of the felt and foam just to hold it in place, this one. Just a teensy bit there. Or you could use a pen. It really is up to you. Like so. And I'm going to now stitch around the little house with just, which thread shall I use? I use this purple, shall I? So I'm going to cut myself, oops. I'm going to juggle with my scissors, and I'm going to cut myself, put a lid back on the glue there so it doesn't dry out, a length of thread, which I shall now attempt to thread on camera. This is a magic trick, and it never always works. never always. Sometimes doesn't work, and it's deciding that it doesn't want to go today either. Keep trying to Make it go through. My hands are in an awful state. They've been in paint and all kinds of things recently on a regular basis. And I have got hand cream, but you know, they need a little bit of care and attention, and I don't have the time to give it to them at the minute. Right, so tie the knot in there and we're ready to roll. Now, I've decided I'm not going to stitch around the top of my bit because that's going to be stitched down there, so I'm lazily just going to stitch the bits I need to. It's a tiny little stitch. You need to go a fair way into woven fabric because, as you know, woven fabric will fray. So I'm just very carefully doing some little stitches to go around the edge of that, like so, all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm just going to do it all the way along the bottom there and up the side there, and then I'm going to change colour thread and do the same all around my roof. So I'll be back when I've done that. So we've got our basic house sewn down onto the backing piece of wool felt or woven wool. I've got all kinds of bits of woven wool in all these beautiful colours from Fabworks in Dewsbury. They sell off little scrap packs and I love them, and whenever I go up north I will go there and grab a few scrap packs to keep me going, and they do all these beautiful colours. So other times I've got wool felt. I have 100% wool felt. I have wool felt that I make myself, so that's a made one. You can use any kind of felt. I mean, you can use craft felt. I wouldn't use the really cheap stuff because it doesn't have the same feel to it, number one thing. It doesn't look as nice for the second thing. And for the third thing, when you're putting all the effort in, you want to be using the best possible materials you can. Even if they're little scraps, you know, they're still like the best quality. This is pure wool. So if it's something that you want to last, if it's something for a child or something and you're not too worried about it lasting too long, then obviously go to town with whatever you have. I like wool and wool felt and boiled wool because it generally tends to hold itself together. Obviously the woven type will kind of fray a little, but as I say, I'm not too worried about that. It generally tends to hold itself together. Anyway, enough of that. Let's bring in the door and the window. So there's my door, that's going to go there. And my window is going to go there-ish. I think I'll turn it the other way around actually. That's better. It is a very tiny house indeed. So I'm going to go back in with my felt and foam. Just a little dot just to get that on there and hold it. The same on the window, like so. Whoopsie, get in there. And I'm going to put a little shine in the window, like there's a light on. So I've got some of my glittery fabric here. This is optional, obviously. You don't have to do this. You make your house however you want it to be. But I've got my glittery fabric there for a shine in the window. And now I'm just going to stitch around those like I did with the house, and I'll be back to show you the next part. So those are all now down and secure, and I want to put a little door handle on, a la that one there. So I'm going to go into my bead collection here. There we go, take the lid off there. What colour bead do I want for my door handle? I'm going to go with purple. Which purple? That one. Yes. So I have one of those. Put the lid back on because They're bound to go all over the place otherwise. It's the law. Door handle's going to go on this side. So one stitch up, little bead, give myself a door handle. Otherwise, how am I going to get into my tiny house, you know? Go through it a couple of times, backwards and forwards, just to secure it. And then fasten it off at the back, like so. Snip. Okay, so we bring the backing back in now. Bring the backing back in. At this point as well, you could also, like I did on this one, I put a couple of sequin stars on there as well. So you can add things in if you really want to. You could add some stitching in if you wanted to. I'm just going to also trim this down a little bit because it's on a slight wonk. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it off. It's very forgiving. Doesn't mind if you do that. So that is going to go on there. And then the interesting part comes when you decide what colours you want to go around your edge in your beads. So for this one, I'm going to kind of use the colours that I've got in my base fabric. I think I'm going to go for that blue. I haven't got exact matches, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to go for that blue, or that blue, no, that blue. Yeah, I'm going to go for that blue and that green. Or that green. No, that green. Decisions. Let me take you out a little bit as well. And going around my fabric edge, I'm just going to use this green. So cut myself a fair part of that off. And thread it. And you can see you could make quite a few of these up at one time. And they, oh, that didn't thread. And they are great for little gifts for people. Maybe you've got some friends or family who've moved house recently. They might like a little house to wear on there, or put it on their bag, or to put it on their collar. It's just a nice little thing. I like things like this. They make me happy. Now you could pin this to hold it all together. I am being rogue, I'm just holding it together. And what I'm going to do, tuck my little thread in there, and I'm just going to make a blanket stitch to start myself off. Like, try not to get on the edges there, like there. And I'm going to thread on my first bead. So first bead on, and then I'm going to do my next. I'm hooking this onto everything. And my next stitch, then I'm going to do another stitch. So it's kind of like doing a blanket stitch and then threading on a bead. That's basically how I'm going to go. I might change my mind. I might, no, I will stick with the lighter green one. It will stand out better. So the lighter green, another blanket stitch, like so. That kind of traps that bead in between two stitches, if you can see that. And another stitch. This is, it's just taking every attempt to attach itself to that bead box, and I know what's going to happen. It's just going to flip it at one point in time, and then I'm going to be spending the rest of the day picking up beads, because I am that person who can be that clumsy. So you can see how that's going. So you do a stitch, a blanket stitch, you put a bead on, then you do another stitch, then you do another stitch, put a bead on, then you do another stitch, all the way around, however you want it to go, whatever pattern. You could do 3 colours if you wanted to. I'm sticking with the 2 for this one. So I'm just going to go all the way around, and then I'll be back again. So here it is when it's got its beads all the way around it. And that's the back, nice and neat, because it covers up all the other stitching that's on the other piece, which is why I like to use two. And it makes it a little firmer as well, so that you can attach it to something without it flapping around. Okay, so let's go and get a badge back or a brooch back and attach that onto this, and then we're done. Now, there are quite a few things you can do with this. If you didn't want to make it into a brooch back, you could make it into a greetings card by attaching it to the front of a craft paper greetings card or whichever blank greeting card you've got. Or you could do a double whammy. You could make it into a brooch and then attach the brooch onto the card so that it's a gift and a card at the same time. Different options you can use this for. So I'm just going to attach this as a brooch back for now. What I do is I put my thread in like so. You can see I've got a knot on there, but what I do instead is once I've got my thread in, I will knot it in position there and then very carefully snip that knot off so it's kind of disappeared within the fabric then, and you've still got a nice knot to hold it together. And what I do is I put my brooch back towards the top of the brooch, so if you pin it on, it's not flopping over, it will hang quite nicely. It's a bit like a picture frame idea. You don't put the picture hanging right in the middle, you put it towards the top, and I do the same with my brooches so that they hang nicely. And I'm just sewing, because on the brooch backs here you've got these, which are ostensibly for where your glue sits. You could glue these on, but I like to make sure that they're on properly and they're not going to come off, so I tend to stitch mine on because I find that works the best for me. Obviously, if you prefer to glue yours on, you can do that as well. Or if you don't have any of these brooch backs, you could use like a safety pin or something like that. That would work too. You can stitch one end of that on and then use the pin to pin it on. That's another option. I'm just going to put a few stitches to hold this in together, making sure I don't go right through all of the fabrics so that I'm coming out at the front. You don't want your stitches on this back bit to show. You could pre-stitch this on before you put it all together if you wanted to. It's just that this is how I like to work, so I tend to do it afterwards. When I've decided whether I want it to be a brooch or not, because you could change your mind. You could change your mind and think, actually, I'd rather have like a housewarming card or something. But in that case, you could use it as a brooch, as a gift, and put that onto the card. So many options, so many ways. Right, I'll put one more there, and then I'll put one through that one there, and down to the bottom there. And then what I do is I will put a little stitch in here, wrap my thread around a few times just to make a knot, knot it down, and then take that back through the fabric without attaching it to the beads along the way, like so. Snip it, and then you've got your brooch. Ready to pin on to whatever. I kind of think I might need to put some sequins on this. Said the magpie brain. But yeah, if you look at all the others, you can decorate them how you like. I put these on little tags because, I don't know, I just thought they looked quite nice. And I had the little alphabet stamp to make the tiny house there, and then I just wrote my name underneath. So that's also nice. They're nice to give as gifts that way as well. So I've got a few houses now. I've almost got a very small village. But you can use this to create whichever kind of building you want to. If you wanted to do a shop front, you just bear in mind that you're working on quite a tiny surface, so you'd want to make it fairly simple. You know, if you're doing a shop front, you don't want to add a whole load of detail in. You want to have enough detail to show what it is, basically. But there you go. I think you will have a lot of fun with this, and I'm sure that you can use any other the little scraps that you've got. For some of these, it's not just felt. For this one particularly, I've used like a velvet for the roof, so that worked quite well. And that bit of the house there is upholstery fabric. So all those things work really nicely when it comes to putting these together. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little look at how to make your own little tiny house, and I'll be back here very soon with something else. Bye for now.